Now live from the Cake Studios, this is Good Morning Kansas.
Cold front on the way to Cakeland. While it's not going to bring us much rain, it will make us cooler for Wednesday. Look at those numbers coming up.
Well, we're tracking that breaking news this morning. Multiple people are shot in downtown Wichita.
It happened shortly after 12:30 this morning outside the Enigma Club and Lounge in Old Town. Cake's Annette Lawless is live downtown with what we are learning. And Annette, I understand you've moved locations and we've got a better view of what happened.
Absolutely, Pilar. We're trying to get a better vantage point just to show exactly what is taking place this morning. Officers blocking off this area of a very active crime scene. We can see that yellow crime scene tape right in front of us. And then just behind all of that, investigators are inside of that building. And if you look at the windows and doors in the front of that club, they are broken as a result of everything that had taken place this morning. But it's been so busy throughout the morning. Police tell us everything of what they know, and they believe it all started with a fight of some sort at this club, which one man then got kicked out. And they believe that he later walked back and started shooting into the club from the street, hitting 8 people. We do know that one man has died as a result of his injuries. 2 others are in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. And again, police, they're still looking for the shooter, and they expect to be out at the scene for several hours.
We're still gathering video, processing the scene down here, and interviewing multiple witnesses that were in and around the club when this happened.
We've seen those officers walking in and out of the building, taking pictures as well on the outside as they're trying to piece together everything as to what happened. Again, they're still searching for the suspect in this case, and they would appreciate any tips from folks. You can call police at 911, of course, and then you can also call Crime Stoppers if you want to leave a tip anonymously. That number to reach them is 316-267-2111. Reporting live in Wichita, Annette Lawless, Cake News on your side. Good morning, everybody. I don't know if you've been catching our updates here on Good Morning Kansas, but I wanted to share everything on my Facebook fan page as well of a deadly shooting that we've been sharing with you from Old Town, Wichita. The shooting taking place pretty early this morning. We've been out here on scene with officers trying to get information on what all had taken place, but I want to just give you a good idea of what all had transpired just hours ago. So if you've ever been down here to Old Town, this is a look at where we are. So we are at this club between 2nd Street's all the way down there, and then on the other end we have 3rd Street, and we're pretty close to Mosley. This is over at the Enigma Club and Lounge, and officers had just left this area, I would say maybe about 30 minutes ago or so, and this is what's left after that shooting. So it took place around 12:30 this morning. Officers rushing out here, trying to piece together everything as to what happened. But look at the front doors, and this is the doorway for both sides. So the doors and the windows, the glass shattered out. I would imagine, I wasn't here when we interviewed those officers earlier, but we know that the suspect at one point believed to be a person who was a patron at the club, was kicked out, and then had come back and then started shooting from the street over here. So I imagine that they shot through maybe these, and this is how the glass shattered, but it could have been from something else certainly too. Pretty scary thing to think about, certainly. But glass, all this debris left behind. There's the inside of the club where a lot of things are scattered on the floor. We know that overall 8 people were shot, including the victim who died. 2 people do have life-threatening injuries, and we know some other people do have serious injuries as well. So we're waiting right now at this point to get more information from police about the victims involved, and certainly the suspect, who as of this moment, we know that the person has not been arrested, but we're taking a look at arrest sheets this morning and all sorts of details to make sure that you all are informed on everything as best we can. But it's a story certainly we'll be tracking for you throughout the morning. So again, shooting over here, Old Town Wichita, just behind the Marriott, just north of there. Shooting taking place where 8 people were shot, 1 killed, and a lot more, certainly, questions that people have in regard to the investigation. We don't have a very specific description of the person who they believe is responsible, Once we have more details that could be useful, we'll share that information with you. And certainly if we find out more, like if there was an arrest or anything made in connection to the case, we'll share more with that as well. But certainly a big story. You'll probably see it on national headlines this morning because we know that with everything that had happened out here, they had a big event that was planned, a Labor Day celebration where people were coming to enjoy some time in Old Town and ended up with a deadly shooting. So we'll provide updates, and you can see everything with the link in the story here on cake.com. If you happen to have information that could help with the case, you can call 911 or you can call Crime Stoppers. The number to reach Crime Stoppers is 316-267-2111. Again, I'll make sure that we have details with that in the description here on this post here on Facebook, as well as the article on cake.com. We'll continue to provide updates for you all throughout the day. Thanks for watching.
Now live from the Cake Studios, this is Cake News on your side at 6.
Tonight, a night out at a club in Old Town, shattered by gunfire.
Last night, unfortunately, evil happened.
Half a dozen people hit by bullets. A man who died described as a model co-worker and father.
He was just the best. He was an entertainer. He was a family guy.
And the man accused of pulling the trigger has yet to be found.
Nobody would have ever expected that he would go out and did what he did.
Cake News at 6 starts right now.
And the search for that suspected gunman continues tonight. Good evening, I'm Deb Ferris.
And I'm David Scott. That shooting overnight at a club in Old Town killed one man and injured several women. Cake's Jackson Overstreet is live now outside that club called Enigma to kick off our team coverage tonight. Jackson.
David, Deb, we're about 18 hours since that initial call out, and it's a very different scene here at Enigma than it was early this morning. All that's left really still some pieces of broken glass from this morning, but there is some flowers that have been set up there just outside of the club here. That's about the only memorial that we've seen so far here for the victims. Now, when it comes to actually what took place tonight, police tell us it all came from one man, Keyshawn Dawson. They say that is who Wichita police opened fire on the club just after 12:30 this morning. Now, police tell us it all started when Dawson was kicked out of the club. Detectives say Dawson left and then returned with a gun and opened fire on the building. And that's when he killed 34-year-old Preston Spencer, injured 5 women. Now, police say they were able to identify Dawson with help of the surveillance technology that's here in Old Town. Are we good?
I can say that there are a lot of camera surveillance in the Old Town area and the business itself, and that was instrumental in helping us not only understand what happened, but also in identifying the suspect.
Now, Wichita police tell us they are still looking for Dawson and that he was caught on video leaving in a dark color sedan, is what they told us earlier today. He's also wanted on 2 felony warrants with the Sedgwick County and is prohibited from having a firearm, according to police. Now, if you have any information on where Dawson is, you are asked to call Wichita Police or Crime Stoppers. If you do call Crime Stoppers, you can remain anonymous when you send that tip in. Now, as far as the 5 women that were injured in the shooting, police tell us that all of them should survive, and a majority of them have already been released from the hospital. And we'll be sure to keep you updated if Dawson is found and any more information on this case. But for now, live in downtown Wichita, Jackson Overstreet, Cake News on your side.
And our Cake team coverage of the shooting continues now with another look at that suspect, 23-year-old Keyshawn Dawson. We'll have much more on his criminal history in just a minute. But first, let's get out to Cake's Hannah Baker, who's live in Old Town with more on the man who was killed last night, Preston Spencer. He leaves behind his wife and 2 young children. Hannah?
Yeah, Deb, the owner here at Enigma tells me what happened last night was just evil. And while he's still in shock, he says what's most important is those families impacted by this tragic incident.
Last night, unfortunately, evil happened.
Owner of Enigma Club and Lounge, Ali Kabar, is at a loss for words after the devastating shooting that happened at his bar early Tuesday morning. It all started when police say Keyshawn Dawson started a fight and security asked him to leave.
They shook hands, come back next Monday. We'll take care of you next Monday.
What happened next, no one could have expected. Police say Dawson came back and opened fire, killing Preston Spencer and injuring 5 women.
All this is nothing. What I'm going through is nothing. compared to the loss of the Spencer family and the pain and that's the injured are going through in the hospital.
Spencer was a beloved bar manager at 12 Restaurant Bar. The owner, Bryce Kuhn, who didn't want to be on camera, says the whole crew is devastated.
He was just the best. He was an entertainer. He was a family guy. He was, he was a great friend. Just the kind of person who always wanted to put a smile on other people's faces.
Kuhn says he's going to contact the family and hopefully plan a day to remember Spencer so customers and coworkers can come pay respects and donate to the grieving family. Spencer leaves behind a wife and 2 young children. His wife released this statement saying, "Preston was one of the greatest gifts I was blessed to have, and he gave me 2 beautiful children to share this life with. There's nothing that can bring him back, but he will live on in the legacy that he leaves behind." Other family members I spoke with off camera say that Preston Spencer was a shining light and a true gentleman of a person. Now there is a GoFundMe set up. We'll have that linked on this story on Cake.com. Live in downtown Wichita, Hannah Baker, Cake News on your side.
All right, thanks, Hannah. And tonight we're also uncovering more about the suspect in this shooting. Cake's Jessica Crawford is here now with more on that. Jessica.
Well, we're learning more about criminal charges that Keyshawn Dawson has had in the past. Dawson is also wanted on 2 felony Sedgwick County warrants, and 2 weeks ago he was scheduled to be sentenced for one of those crimes but failed to appear. The court issued a warrant for his arrest. He was just released from prison in December of 2020. I'm Jessica Crawford, Cake News on your side.
Thanks, Jessica. And stay with Cake News for continuing coverage of this morning's fatal shooting in Old Town. Watch for updates on air and online at our website, Cake.com.
Now live from the Cake Studios, this is Cake News on your side at 10.
Tonight, new video of the moment a man opened fire outside an Old Town nightclub, killing 1 and injuring 5 others.
Plus,
it's hard to fathom. Your body goes into shock and disbelief.
An exclusive interview with the uncle of the man who died, who says he was loved by everyone who knew him.
And the search for the man who pulled the trigger, and the search for answers as to why he started shooting. Cake News at 10 starts right now.
And first tonight, that stunning video showing exactly what happened.
A neighboring business captured the moments when the shots were fired just after 12:30 this morning. Take a look. You see a group of people near the top right of the screen out on the sidewalk in front of Enigma nightclub on Mosley Street when a man with no shirt fires 5 shots into the club. He then moves and fires 4 more. Here's another look with full sound.
You see people in cars immediately scattering from the scene. Wichita police say the man firing those shots is Keyshawn Dawson. They say this all started when Dawson was kicked out of the club earlier in the night, then returned with a gun and fired into the building. 34-year-old Preston Spencer was killed. 5 women were hurt. Detectives say they were able to identify Dawson thanks to all the surveillance technology in Old Town, like this video, which has now been turned over to Wichita police. And we have heard over and over from those who knew Preston Spencer that he was as good of a person that anyone could ever want to know. And one of those people saying that is his uncle. Cake's Eli Higgins is live in Old Town tonight with the exclusive interview. Eli.
Yeah, David, like you said, while doing the story today, there was no shortage of people saying how amazing he was. Hundreds of people saying how he touched their lives. Now take a look. This is where it happened. Right now, there are some candles lit and some flowers on the floor over there. And tonight, for the first time, his family is speaking out, saying it's an unimaginable loss.
Our last conversation with him last night was full of jokes and laughter, and that's just the way he was.
Keith Spencer says his nephew Preston Spencer's voice was one of the last things he heard Monday night before falling asleep. Just a few hours later, he got an unthinkable phone call.
It's hard to fathom. Your body goes into shock and disbelief when you're just trying to process the words that are coming out of someone else's mouth. That's just unfathomable.
Preston was out with friends at Enigma Club and Lounge in downtown Wichita when he was shot and killed just moments before Keith says he was heading home.
That's part of the shock and disbelief is just trying to wrap your mind around how someone that is so well liked and loved and who cared about everybody could die at the hands of random violence like this.
Keith says Preston never knew a stranger and had no enemies. He was a family man, adored his wife and 2 children, and worked selflessly to make everyone's life around him better. He worked at 12 Restaurant and Bar for the last 5 years. Keith says while there's no easy way forward, the top priority is Preston's wife and kids.
Most important thing for us is making sure that his family is taking care of his wife and his 2 young kids. I mean, you have my great nephew's asking for his daddy. And how do you explain to somebody that's 5 years old that dad's not coming home?
Keith says if you want to help the family, the best way you can do that right now is by donating, if you want, to their GoFundMe. Now, for a link to that page and to donate, just go to cake.com and click on this story. Live downtown, Eli Higgins, Cake News on your side.
And tonight, police are still searching for the suspected gunman in the case, Keyshawn Dawson, a 23-year-old with a lengthy criminal history.
Wichita police say the man in this security video firing 9 rounds into the Enigma nightclub is 23-year-old Deshaun Dawson. You see him open fire, then run from the scene. Dawson has a lengthy criminal history, convicted in juvenile court 3 different times, dating back to when he was just 16. Then just a few years later, when he turned 18, Dawson pleaded guilty to possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Then the same conviction a year later. In each case, court documents show Dawson violated his probation, leading to more charges. In this warrant for Dawson's arrest, it shows he often goes by the name Lil Blood and is involved in gang activity. And finally, just a couple of weeks ago, a judge issued another warrant for Dawson's arrest for failure to appear in court for his sentencing. Now he's wanted for murder.
And we contacted Dawson's mother tonight. She says she has no idea where her son is, and she declined to comment on the shooting at the nightclub.
And stay with Cake News for continuing coverage of this morning's fatal shooting in Old Town. Watch for updates on air and online at our website, cake.com.